You know I get freaky with the furries behind the dumpsters.
Today I want to talk about one of the classic Need for Speed games, since EA wants to appeal to those that doesn't have a significant other, and appeals to those who like Satoshi raps unironically. But before all of that happened and made me question my well-being, something about the older titles that put the series on the map to begin with has always been something special to me. And while some of them didn't age all that well in some areas, I still had fun with them, one of them being High Stakes. And trust me, I'd rather play that than whatever the fuck is going on in the modern day games, but out of all the games in the series, one of them stands out the most, and it's what got me into the whole franchise as a whole. I'm talking about Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2, the sequel to the critically acclaimed Need for Speed 3 Hot Pursuit, which came out in 1998 and was made by EA Seattle. Now, while Hot Pursuit 2's title was still the same, the game was developed by two different studios. The aforementioned Seattle division worked on the Xbox, GameCube, and PC version, and the PlayStation 2 version was made by a studio that we all know and love, that being Black Box Studios, the same studio that buzzed great games and some shit ones, but mostly good ones that we all know. And this is the first Need for Speed game that they are assigned to, since all they did beforehand was making hockey games for Midway. And to everyone's surprise, the PS2 version was praised by lots of people, since the other three versions got mixed to negative receptions. So throughout this video, I'll be talking about the PS2 version, and what makes it so special from the other games in the series.
Excuse me, officer, is there a bank around here?
What makes this game so special is that it doesn't focus on making your car look like an abomination. It doesn't have a storyline with forgettable characters and dumb plot points. It's not a GTA 5 graphics mod, and it doesn't use its name for something that doesn't even belong in the franchise in the first place. It's just an old game of cops and robbers. There are two sets of campaigns that you can choose from, one being the World Racing series and the Ultimate Racer. The World Racing Championship comes with a total of 30 events that you can complete, and where you can race with other opponents on the road with no cops or any interference whatsoever. And the Ultimate Racer is the polar opposite. The cops in this game will not give you a break and will do everything to stop you in your tracks with any means necessary. They'll be on your tail no matter what, pinning you into a wall and always brake checking every chance they can get. And it's not just you, everyone on the road will be hunted down as well. You can disable them by smashing into them, or sometimes they'll just disable themselves by smashing into oncoming traffic or a wall, but they have other tricks up their sleeves. They have the ability to come into roadblocks that consist of spikes, barrels, or themselves. If you do manage to hit them, your car's engine will be disabled for a few seconds, but that's not all. They also have the ability to call in helicopters to stop you in your tracks, and it's not just for show. It will drop explosive barrels all over the road. If it's hit, your car will be disabled for a few seconds, or if your car hits below 20 miles per hour, or 32 kilometers per hour if you're a fanboy that likes to wear maid dresses.
Oh whoa, I love boy smell.
But other times it will drop spikes and send heat-seeking missiles like you're a member of ISIS. Personally, I think the helicopter is too overpowered for this game, since the cooldown time is pretty much non-existent. If they manage to pin you down, you'll get a warning. If you get all three warnings, you'll be labeled as a has-been hotel fan and start the race all over again, making the game more difficult. There is a mode where you can play as a cop and trying to shut down a race within a certain amount of time. While the event is simple, to me it's kind of boring and slow. You do have a set of countermeasures at your disposal that consists of roadblocks and helicopters, and you also have a nitrous button so you can be on someone's tail. But over time it gets tedious to do. It's nothing like what we got in the later games. The mode is just kinda there. There are a large variety of event types that you can do, that being a standard circuit race where you're racing around the track for 3 or more laps, knockout where if someone gets last place during a series, they're gone, point to point. Unless you have the brain of a Sonic fan in the modern day, it's a sprint race, time trial where you're against the clock, and lastly we have tournament, where you have to complete a series of races by getting points. If that said person gets enough points, they'll win the whole entire thing. But no matter what campaign you choose, nothing is handed to you for free. You have to work all the way to the top instead of getting everything on a silver platter. By unlocking more vehicles in this game, you have to earn points by driving like a complete madman or doing more events. And the events will get more challenging no matter what you do. And while on the topic of cars, the game offers a range of 90s to early 2000 models of cars. While it is short, I would rather have a short list of vehicles that would fit the game rather than a long ass list of cars that I'll never drive in my entire life, or it just doesn't fit the game at all. Hot Pursuit 2 doesn't fall in that trap, not for a second. From cheap roadsters to luxurious sedans, all the way to the exotic and legendary cars that everyone knows and loves, the game will make you pick something in the long run, unlike the ones in the modern day where you can get a car and just flat out upgrade it till the very end. Personally, I'm not a fan of that, since that's literally the definition of insanity, but here it doesn't do that. There is a unique set of 29 cars that you can choose from and unlock, with the likes of the Lamborghini Murcielago, the CLK GTR, and the BMW Z8, which is probably the only BMW that's actually good in the world. There are a few unique set of cars that we don't really see anymore in modern games, and it's probably one of the reasons why I'm interested in cars and car culture to this very day, such as the Ferrari 360 Spider, the Barchetta, Ford TS50, the McLaren F1 LM, and the game even has the Curva GT concept. While the tracks are closing out a boring ass open world, this game does a good job of making everything feel alive with cool details, such as a forest fire in one of the forest levels, and a dust storm can appear in some races in the desert track. While the track selection is short, some of them have a cool set of shortcuts that you can take that will give you a real edge, and kinda makes you explore the game a little bit more. Some are obvious and others you have to find. Some can help you and others you have to be on your toes for. And while I'm not a graphics guy, cause I'm not the nerd emoji when it comes to numbers, as long as the game doesn't look like an AMV from 2006, I don't care. But I will give credit where credit is due. While the other version focuses on a high resolution but lacks certain details when it comes to its world, the PlayStation 2 version focused more on the fidelity and making everything look upbeat with a high contrast and outstanding texture work that I can argue aged like wine. Unless you have the taste of a Hobson fan, the soundtrack for this game is what I say fantastic. Being the first game to feature licensed music that consists of rock and techno from well-known artists at the time, only totaling the 15 tracks if you don't include the instrumentals, over time you can't help but sing along to some of the songs in this game while being chased by the law, making the game more memorable to play through.
46-9. Let's get another roadblock set up.
All in all, this soundtrack hits harder than Jeremy Clarkson hitting a computer with a hammer. My final thoughts on this game is a very outstanding one to say the least. Out of all the Need for Speed games in the past that I played, this one aged the best. Yes, there are a few hiccups that should be ironed out, but besides those, I think the game aged like wine. And it can stand toe-to-toe with the likes of the modern day games since they don't know what the sense of fun is anymore. Unfortunately, this was the last of its kind until the early 2010s when they revived the formula. And while those games are successful to a certain extent, no one liked the fact that you can play My Dress Up Darling with their cars. Personally, I think they need to go back to their roots. While I do think it's fun at times, personally I just think it's more of a selling point rather than, you know, appealing to those who knows little about cars. And on that bombshell, I think it's time to end. If you stuck around to the very end, I would like to thank you for doing so. More videos will be on the way, it's just gonna take some time. But if you are interested in what I have to say, check out my other videos on my channel. You won't be disappointed. Anyways, unless you eat babies, I wish you all a Merry Christmas.
You're all that matters to me now, so I'm gonna stay right here with you. My friend will know what to do with this one. Well, Merry Christmas. Ho, 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 ho. Merry Christmas.